This podcast is part of the Zeo to Hero Podcast Network.
AvenuePodcast.net.
Hello, all my beautiful people. Happy New Year. And I'm glad that you guys have come back to listen to another episode of If You Give a Dad a Podcast. I'm very excited about this one. I've had this guest on before. He was actually my very first wrestling guest that I ever had on here, and that's Luke Langley. He was a lot of fun to talk with and a great guy to just bring on the show just to talk about all kinds of things. We talk about metal music a lot at the very beginning of this, but we get into other things like OKX and maybe some people to be watching out for in the future when it comes to wrestling. I know that he has a hand in training some of the ones up there towards Kansas City, so we talk about that and all kinds of other great stuff. I'm very excited to be back to be making episodes again. It was kind of weird not making them, for that little amount of time, but now I am back where I'm supposed to be at, making content for you guys, and I hope that you really enjoy it. And for those of you who are here just to listen to the Luke Langley episode, welcome. I hope that you enjoy what you hear, and I hope that you stick around and listen to some of the other great episodes I have here as well. So, if you guys are as excited as I am, then let's get this show on the road.
If You Give a Dad a Podcast.
You're bloody welcome!
Hey, Dad.
If I get my hand stuck in a pickle jar, I'm straight up bull in a china shop, just swinging around.
Started writing songs when I was about 12 or so.
Seriously?
They're retrofitting me now, and
I'm like, yes, finally.
I've also had the opportunity to go train with Hoist Gracie and Dan Severn.
Wow.
I like that. That's different. It stands out.
That day I took my very first bump and it was fun.
There's only one section to go to first, toys.
Bro.
I was like, no, man, surely this guy's not booked out that long.
I haven't laughed that hard since I was a little girl.
What?
Man, this guy won't shut up.
And just a reminder before we get started here, make sure that you like, share, and subscribe to iGadap wherever it is you're listening to. Hit that notification bell so you are notified when a new episode drops. Also, make sure that you go out there and rate and review this episode. Tell me what you think of it. And the more people that do that, the more likely I am to be recommended to somebody else. Now, on to the show. All right, everybody. I am really excited about this. This is actually my first recording that I'm doing in 2024. And I'm bringing back a guest that I had on in my first 4 episodes, I believe, for the show. He was actually my first wrestler that I ever had on here. He was in the main event of my very first independent wrestling show that I went to. And I've got to know him a little bit. I've got to talk to him backstage at different shows, and I'm really excited to have him on. He is the Mid-States heavyweight champion, and I'm talking about Luke Langley. Man, how are you today?
I am great, Jared. Good to be back with you. Happy New Year.
Happy New Year, man. I know we were talking before and everything, but, New Year, it's a little different now that I'm older. I told you, I stayed up till midnight, but I went to bed immediately and was just like, it's not the same as maybe when I was in my 20s.
No, I feel you. Like I said, I was sound asleep by 11 o'clock or so after a rigorous evening on the couch watching some Hulu with the girlfriends. So yeah, it was not a barn burner of a New Year's Eve for yours truly.
I get that. I actually think we had Hulu playing. She's rewatching. My wife's rewatching a show that I think was on in the early 2000s, but I don't know. It's a lot. It's been on the TV for the last few days, so I try to block it out. But I'm pretty sure that it was, something on Hulu that we were watching as well.
Right on. We're making our way through this Big Sky show, which I honestly can't decide if the show's good or not. Like, there are some episodes where, like, okay, I would definitely want to see what happens next. But when I think of all the shows that I want to watch and that I hear are great that I'm behind on catching up on, the fact that we're spending so much time with this makes me feel a little guilty. Although Jinder Mahal was a henchman in it for a couple episodes before they killed him off. So there's
Oh,
a wrestling
really?
connection at least. Yeah.
Okay, and a recent one too. He did a really good job at hyping up the crowd last night on Raw to get The Rock to come out there.
That's what I hear. I did not actually see it.
I caught just that part. I mean, of the show, and I mean, I was wondering what was going to happen. Because they said that they were going to have a previous heavyweight champion on the show and all that. So I was wondering, and then he came out there and he started talking about USA and all that. I thought for sure he was going to announce his run for president, because the way he was talking, because he kept talking about like the USA and being proud to be an American and stuff like that. I was like, I wonder, because I know he's been talking about that in the news and stuff a little bit.
Sure. Well, I'd probably vote for him. just to
yeah,
just to move the story along.
Yeah, but I mean, you said Jinder Mahal was in the story that you're watching. You said it's called Big Sky.
Yeah, it's like these like two women private investigators in Montana, and
Okay,
there's also it's worth checking out, I suppose. I think the first season is probably the strongest, but then they get too many side characters and there's too many like tangential things going on. But again, I'm not even sure if the show is good or not, but at this point we're 2 seasons in and we might as well finish it.
so what kind of stuff do you like to watch?
I'm the kind of guy where like I have to like really commit to like watching a show, because I know I'm gonna like binge it all. I can't just like sample stuff. So I tend to be like behind a little bit on like a lot of the prestige TV stuff. I think before I got into this with the girlfriend, I think The Last of Us was the last show that I watched, and I'm a little behind on that, but I was able to binge all of that in a couple of weeks.
That was a good one.
Really good. Really good video game too, obviously. But I really enjoyed the way they adapted that. I need to get caught up on Low Key season 2. I know I'm way behind on that because I really enjoyed the first season of Low Key. But I think before The Last of Us, I think Succession was my big binge, and that obviously just wrapped up earlier, I guess, back in the middle of 2023. But that was a great show.
I don't think I've watched that one.
Oh yeah, it's just like I guess the way I've heard it described is like as if you're watching the Fox News empire by way of King Lear. It's this media tycoon, and it just follows him and then his fucked up kids basically as they swim in his wake.
Have you gotten into watching The Boys or Gen V or any of that?
Oh yeah, I did. I finally watched The Boys season 3. I think before Succession. So season 3 a little more uneven. But yeah, I really dig The Boys. The guy who wrote that comic that show's based on, Garth Ennis, back in the mid to late 90s, he wrote Preacher, which is like probably my favorite comic series ever. So it's cool to see him get more stuff out there. But yeah, I love The Boys. I just love the concept of like all the superhero tropes kind of being flipped on their head, and like they're actually like sociopaths basically.
Well, I mean, they kind of bring it to I was talking to Angel Camacho on here about that, and the way he put it is it's like the real, they deal with real issues and stuff. I mean, some of them are drug addicts, or they make mistakes. I love that that they just kind of bring all of that stuff in. They screw up all the time.
Right. It's like, just because you have super speed or, can talk to fish, like you don't have like all the same personality defects that exist in like every other human,
I mean, episode 1, I mean, the first 5 minutes of the show, the speedster's running through somebody because he was going too fast and wasn't seeing where he was going, and the girl explodes.
Because he was running to get his fix, not even chasing the bad guy.
Yeah. No, I've really enjoyed that one, and I know Eric Kripke has a lot to do with it, and he's, he was the one who started probably my favorite TV show, which is Supernatural, and so I followed because I knew that he was doing this as well.
Right, and doesn't I see so many people put over Supernatural to me, and I've never watched it, but I know that is it Jensen Ackles? Is he the actor from that? So he shows up in season 3 of The Boys, and then he just showed up in Big Sky too, and I'm like,
oh,
like the last episode of season 2, like he shows up and he's like this Texas sheriff or something, and I'm like, bullshit, you're fucking Soldier Boy.
Well, I mean, he's from Texas too, though, so I mean, he probably was able to pull that off really well. But Jensen Ackles, he's great at pretty much all things that he does. So I was really happy seeing him come on the show. And then there's a couple other ones that show up. I will say this about Supernatural: I'm a fan of all 15 seasons, but the first 5, if you can watch the first 5, that was his original concept for the show. And if they would have ended it at the end of season 5, it would have been perfect.
Okay, so it's kind of like The Office, where it kept going just kind of on momentum because we liked the characters, but they'd kind of covered all the narrative ground, really.
Right. Yeah. Well, I mean, the fans loved it so much, and it was such a big deal for WB. They just I guess it's not WB anymore; it's CW, and they were making so much money off of it. They, tripled what the amount that he actually had planned for it. Because, like I said, it was 15 seasons. And the original Eric Kripke only had 5 seasons planned out for the show.
Gotcha.
Yeah, but I will, even though there's crappy parts in the later seasons, I still love it. It's one of my favorite shows. In fact, my wife for Christmas got me the one of the big things on there is their car. They call it Baby, and so she actually got me a replica of their license plate that I put up on my wall over here.
Oh, that's pretty sick.
Yeah, so it's they're Kansas, so it's got they're from Lawrence and everything, so it's got the Kansas license plate up
down the road.
Yeah.
Is it the one with the state seal, or is it the one with the wheat?
It's the one with the wheat.
Okay, like kind of the blue sky and the wheat.
Yep, it's that one.
Okay, and that was like what I had like my first truck.
Oh, okay. What was your first truck?
Oh, it was a 07 Toyota Tacoma. I bought it New Year's Day of 07. It was like the super bone stock, 2-door bench seat, roller windows. I bought it with the money I saved up working at Dairy Queen in high school. It was like the middle of my freshman year of college, but my dad helped me out a little bit too. But yeah, that was my first probably big boy purchase.
Well, I mean, that's a good purchase. I mean, I bet that truck probably lasted a very long time.
Yeah, well, my dad still has it. I
really?
Sell it back to him eventually. Yeah, it's always nice to be able to borrow a truck, And it served me well the first several years of my wrestling career too. That was my chariot.
Okay, yeah. So it's got plenty of miles and plenty of stories then.
Indeed.
So, like I said earlier on here, the very first time I had you on here, I was extremely nervous. I think, like I said, it was probably episode 4 or something. And we talked a lot about, the different titles that you had. I'd never talked to anybody in wrestling, and you gave me some advice. And I've probably told you this before and everything, but I just wanted to tell you again, thank you for the advice that you gave me, because it has helped so much on being able to talk to people, because I had never done anything like this before. It was a new project for me, but your advice actually helped me to progress in this quite a ways.
Oh, that's very kind of you to say. I'm glad it was helpful. Sometimes you got to watch it with unsolicited advice, but I'm glad that it was useful for you. And, ultimately, what the fuck do I know? I don't have a podcast, so who am I to tell anybody what to do? But I'm glad that it was helpful. And the episodes that I've listened to since then, you can tell you've improved a lot as an interviewer, and you're a lot more comfortable behind the mic. So kudos to you for keeping it going and getting the reps in.
Well, thank you so much. This is something, it's become very much a passion for me. I love doing this. I took 2 weeks off and I felt like I was lost in those 2 weeks. So it's good to get back behind the mic and get on here and talk. And my dad always has been told that he has the gift of gab, and I guess I got it from him. You know, he's a pastor of a church. So
that'll do
it. I mean, I kind of grew up behind the microphone, so I guess it was kind of meant to be for me doing something with the mic.
Yeah, I don't know a lot of like super introverted, withdrawn pastors, so I can see that.
No, I never met a stranger, and my wife is very much a introvert. She doesn't like attention drawn to her like at all, and so it's always fun when she goes out with me in public.
Well, I'm sure. I mean, you're a fun dude. You know, why wouldn't it be?
So, just getting to know you over the last, I guess it's been about 2 years since I first met you. I've learned that you like to listen to take somebody's a band's music and rate them. I've seen many lists that you've put out on Facebook and things like that. What made you start deciding, you know what, I'm going to do this and give my review on all of those?
Man, honestly, I don't really know. I think like, I don't know, it was a couple of years ago at this point, but like I just randomly decided like Iron Maiden is one of my favorite bands, and I just like randomly decided like I'm gonna listen to all of their albums in a row because they had just released their last album, Senjutsu. And I was just like, you know what, I haven't really done a good Iron Maiden binge in a while. Let's just listen to them all at once. And then when I was done, I thought I had kind of my definitive like, ranking, of the all 17 albums, I think, and I just put it on Facebook, and a couple of people liked it and commented. I don't know, I just got a kick out of it, and now I'm like, well, I should do it with another band too. And I don't know, it's just I guess I like it because it removes a lot of the decision making for what I have to listen to at the gym every morning, because I'm like, okay, well, this album's next, but I don't know. I'm an enthusiast by nature, kind of like I was talking about with TV, where it's like I gotta like gear up to start a show because I know I'm gonna like go all in on it. Like I want to know every like nook and cranny about the show and the story, like so those like really high concept shows like Game of Thrones, where I can really like really like lose myself and immerse myself and like all the Byzantine detail and things like that. I guess I have kind of a collector's mentality maybe too, where it's like, like I don't want to just be like, oh yeah, that band rocks. I want to be like, oh, that band rocks because X, Y, and Z, and that album's pretty good, but this album is the one I really love. And it's just, I really liked being able to, enjoy stuff at that, kind of more intimate level, I guess. And it's not like I'm not like I don't consider myself like a music expert. I listen to a lot of music. I think in my Spotify Wraps that I was like in the top 2% of like listeners in terms of time, like worldwide or whatever. But it's like, I don't think that I have like a super sophisticated, like, taste for it necessarily. Like, I don't think saying I'm not a big Nickelback fan, or I think Five Finger Death Punch sucks. Like I don't think that makes me an elitist or anything. Like I
mean, that's a pretty widely
exactly. But it's like I like plenty of things that are like popular, and I like some stuff that's like flat out not cool. Like I listen to a fair amount of power metal, which or as I call it dork metal. Like I have a well curated dork metal playlist, that is like kind of a guilty pleasure, but you crank it up when you're by yourself in the car on a long drive, and it'll get you to the show. But
is Dragon Force considered power metal?
I would say so. They've got one song on my dork metal playlist for sure, and I definitely like dug the shit out of them. Back when I was like in college and we were like playing like Guitar Hero and Rock Band and shit. But no, they're they're as dorky as dork metal gets almost. So I'm trying to think of like what your original like question was. Like, why did I start doing this? So like I don't know. I started doing it with Iron Maiden and I kind of enjoyed it. And then I figured, I'll do it with other band. And that they don't have to be like niche bands or anything. Like I did like Killswitch Engage and like Mastodon and over time as I did it, I started writing more and more because I like I don't know. It's just one of those things that I've always kind of been good at. And I don't get a lot of practice in like my day-to-day life just writing stuff, so like I I just enjoy like putting the thoughts that I have while I'm at the gym about a certain album or a certain band. I like putting it on paper, and really I don't expect anybody else to pay it too much mind on Facebook or anything like that, but if anybody that way, but hey, if someone else is a fan too, then they can comment and we can have a conversation about it, or if anybody else gets a kick out of it, good for them, but it's mostly just for me because I enjoy writing, I enjoy talking about it, and it's the easiest place to put it. So
definitely
I kept it going, and I'm actually kind of at a crossroads deciding what band to choose now. I did
Coheed,
Coheed
right?
and Cambria, which is other than Iron Maiden, they're my favorite band. I guess I would probably put Coheed number one, honestly. But there's a lot of Iron Maiden in Coheed. They covered the Trooper, and actually the first time I saw them, they were touring with Iron Maiden back in 2012. I saw them both in Denver. It was funny because like my girlfriend at the time, like, she didn't give a shit about Iron Maiden, but we both liked Coheed. So I'm like, yeah, this will be fun. We'll go to this concert. And then like Coheed played for half an hour, and then Iron Maiden was out there for like 2 hours, and I'm geeking out, and she's just got her arms folded and just like rolling her eyes at me so hard.
That's funny.
But yeah, no, I did Coheed. And I did a post for every album for them, so I really blew it out with them. But I'm actually at a crossroads for what band I want to do next, because I've been just catching up on like new releases from the past year that I missed, and like kind of diving into more current stuff.
Right.
So I guess if anyone's listening to this and has a band they want me to dissect, feel free to shoot me a message.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I know that you have gotten requests in the past. And you've kind of brought this up a little bit, but this one cracked me up. And he was very persistent. And that's Red James when it came to Nickelback.
Yeah.
I think it was at least once a week that he was saying, when are you going to put out your Nickelback list?
And I did. I gave the people what they wanted.
Yeah. I mean, that's what you do, man. You give them what they want. You keep them happy.
I will say this. When I was in high school, when I was like just getting back into being a wrestling fan, I went on the early days of YouTube, and I watched this backyard wrestling video that had Nickelback's "If Everyone Cared" as like the background music, and man, I felt that shit. Like the guys doing emerald flosions and their homemade rings in the backyard, hearing that. Yeah, it spoke to me. So, we'll give the devil their due.
Do you play any instruments?
No. I learned a little bit of guitar back at the end of college, like the, GAE chords or whatever, and I learned, I actually had an electric guitar briefly. And so I could play a lot of the basic power chords. I could play Paranoid by Black Sabbath and get through most of the solo. I kind of had to fudge it a little bit, but it's a really simple song and stuff. I could learn little riffs and basic songs and stuff like that, but I haven't played in probably 10 years. So no, I don't play any instruments. Long answer to a short question.
It's all good, man. It's music. It's an international thing. It's something that we can all enjoy. And I know that there's another guy that you actually, we talked about this a little bit. Y'all talked about doing your own show together. I talked to him about that a little bit too. I would love to hear you and Thrash talk about music.
Oh yeah, he gets it. We're on the same wavelength when it comes to just how we think about music and like the atmosphere and just kind of the feelings it evokes in us. And I consider him much more of an expert than I am. Like he's like has worked at record stores and played a little bit. And, is a lot more. I consider him a lot more knowledgeable about metal in particular than I am. But he's a good dude. And I don't know. I think we recorded like 4 episodes, and the I don't know what happened to the audio on those, but maybe someday they'll make their way into the public.
We've
talked about reviving it, but no immediate concrete plans, unfortunately.
Well, dude, if y'all need help getting that out there, I'm here to help, man. That's all I got to say, because I'd love to hear it.
I appreciate that, my man.
I'm guessing, just from what I'm hearing, metal is probably your main genre. Is there any other genres of music that you like to listen to?
Man, I always say, like, I like anything that I can play like loud with guitars.
Okay.
So like I have a big like pop punk soft spot too. My first like favorite band honestly was like Red Hot Chili Peppers.
Really?
I did a full discography breakdown over the summer on them. I'm a big fan of like all of their John Frusciante output is the best in my opinion, but there's a lot of other stuff that's worthwhile too with them. But for a long time, my third favorite band, I always put like Iron Maiden and Coheed at 1 and 2 in some order, but I love the band Brand New, more of a kind of emo alternative rock vibe there. I saw them in Dallas back in like, I think 2017. They were fucking awesome, but and they really evolved like over the course of their 5 albums from like just kind of pop punk to like kind of modern day like Pixies sort of sound. But they're a band I enjoy a lot. I always have to mention when I'm talking about my favorites. Anything loud with guitars, I'm pretty amenable to.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, I'm kind of like that. I like all types of music. I can talk to you about rock. I can talk to you about rap. I can talk to you about. I actually can even do a little bit of opera myself. I don't sing it, but I like listening to it, and classical music, because I know that's where kind of metal stems from classical music.
A lot of it. A lot of the musicians are classically trained. It's why every Iron Maiden song is in the key of E minor, basically. And obviously outside of metal, like I guess mainstream metal, obviously like Eddie Van Halen kind of set the template of like the classically trained pop musician.
Well, so Eddie Van Halen, Van Halen is probably one of my early starts into some of your hard rock, into your heavy metal and stuff like that, because I just love the way that he played guitar. And for many years I use this because I love music, I play music, I was raised around it and everything, and I loved what he said. There's 7 notes in the musical alphabet, use them however you want. And so that always stuck with me, especially when I was a teenager, and I'd be playing the guitar and stuff, and you just come up with stuff and he was very much an inspiration when it came to that.
Yeah, honestly, I have a hard time thinking of anybody like more influential in terms of like modern, especially rock music, like I don't know if he is like the greatest guitarist, but he is certainly
he's up there
in terms of impact. I don't think there's anybody who could top him just by just the sheer number of people who tried to play like him or patterned themselves off of him. I read one time, it was like this author rewrote, like, Jimi Hendrix is the greatest guitarist of all time, but Eddie Van Halen's probably the most important because no one could figure out how to rip Jimi Hendrix off.
I like that. Yeah, Jim. I mean, the dude played with his mouth.
Yeah.
I mean, he was very.
He's playing a right-handed guitar left-handed.
Exactly.
Like fundamentally, like
it just didn't work.
It's not something you could teach an average person to try to emulate or play like.
Yeah. I actually went through I guess we all do that. I went through a phase to where all I listened to was like Jimi Hendrix, and and man, I love just. I'll get into a groove to where all I'll listen to is one kind of music. And I'm guessing, like with what you're saying, you go into a band and then you just go through every album. I haven't went that far, but I will go to like one person or one genre and I'll stick with that for a while. And Jimi Hendrix one was probably one that I had the most fun with.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, that's a golden age and period of rock music, obviously. So much groundbreaking stuff, and it's some of it, like some of the songs, like you've heard them so many times, or even if you haven't, it feels like you have, because like it sets the template for so much of what we still listen to today, like 50 years later.
Right.
Hello everybody, I apologise for butting in on what you're listening to, but I wanted to introduce you guys to a brand new podcast called the Tiger Nexus Podcast. I'm Ty Tiger, and I'm the host. I'm mostly known for the Tiger Tales YouTube channels, where you'll find stories and fan fictions that I write and read to you guys. I'm also a co-founder of the Three Range Bro Studios, but I wanted to dive into this whole podcasting thing. I'm a content creator, and I adore making content of all sorts of varieties, and I want to interview people that enjoy and make content as well. And we're talking about all sorts of things, from TikToks to YouTube to story writing to storytelling, podcasts, movies and TV shows, all forms of content you can think of, I want to interview people about. So there's going to be lots of different variety. So make sure you check out the Tiger Nexus Podcast on YouTube and Spotify.
So I do kind of want to switch things over here a little bit, because I do want to kind of talk about the wrestling side of things. As well.
All right. Okay. I suppose.
So I've got to see you wrestle, quite a few times, especially here lately in Diamond State Wrestling. And, you've had some killer matches. That ladder match, the triple threat ladder match that I think that was at the last show, man, that was a lot of fun to watch.
Yeah, thanks. It's been a long time since I had done a ladder match. I guess I had wrestled Malico at WCWA.
At the same building, right?
No, that was at this, I think it was a skating rink or something.
Okay.
It was at their first show that was called The Purge, I think.
Okay.
The second Purge show was at the soccer complex there. This was, I can't remember the exact date. I want to say maybe in 2020. But I wrestled Magnificent Malico in a match it was just a regular match, but it was like their hardcore rule show.
Okay.
And we used a ladder pretty extensively in ours, but it had been quite a while since I had a true like ladder match, climb and take the belt down sort of match. So my main objective, honestly, in that was to just not get hurt. I was coming off an injury to my chest and shoulder. I'd done some kind of strain to my pec, and I had a pinched nerve in my intercostals that like took me out of the gym and out of action for about 3 weeks. So that was like coming off of that. So I was still kind of getting back in condition, and mostly just wanted to like not get seriously hurt, but no, it was good. I mean, obviously nasty and I'm always going to call him Dusty. Obviously, Nasty and Dusty are always, they're. I've enjoyed, working with both those guys previously, and it was pretty easy to put it together with them once we started, kind of spitballing ideas, and no one got hurt, and I think we had a decent little match. And obviously, I'd wish that fucking William Blackwell hadn't come out and fucked me over at the end there, and I'd be the Diamond State champion. But I'll live to fight another day.
Yeah, the United, they've always got to get right in the way, right?
Yeah.
Well, I mean, so actually one of the first match that I ever watched of yours was, obviously in Bentonville, whenever you faced Duke Cornell in the main event, and still one of my favorite matches that I watched. That was a great one. It got me wanting to see more when it came to independent wrestling. And but whenever I started going online and I was looking up some of your matches, I actually had found a couple of the ones that you and Xander had done, and I think there was some where the one that I saw was the one where you threatened his wife, I believe it was.
Okay, was that that was
WCWA, wasn't it?
Yeah, so that was a triple threat with Mecha Wolf then, maybe?
Yeah, I believe so. And man, the storylines in that was so good, I mean, and I've seen quite a few different ones that you've done that storyline great. Another one that I wanted to bring up was you actually sent me the match on Facebook, and you told me that I needed to pack a lunch because it was a long one, and it was the one between you and John Bloodworth at OKX.
Yeah, John Cross.
I'm sorry.
Back in 2019.
What did I say, John? Okay, yeah, John Cross.
Yeah, you used his real name. That's okay. John Cross is retired.
Yeah,
John Bloodworth lives on.
Yeah, I think
guru.
I asked him that. In fact, I was like, "Do you want to go by John Cross or do you want to go by John Bloodworth?" Because I had him on the show, and he was like, "Man, I don't care."
Well, the joke with John is that his real name is cooler than his gimmick name.
Right?
His name is John Bloodworth. That's pretty badass, and you went with John Cross,
So I know I got his side of the story when it came to him preparing for that match, and you guys put a lot into that. Well, maybe kind of go back into that and tell me, what was going through your mind leading up to having that match, because I know you guys wanted to put a lot into this.
Yeah, sure. First of all, I want to go back to something you said about the Duke Cornell match, about how it was your first exposure to indie wrestling and it made you want to see more. And
okay,
I can't thank you enough for saying that, because to me, that is that's the highest compliment that I can get, is that, hey, I've never been to one of these before, but I want to come back and see more of it. And that's the way, I feel like I wrestle every match, is because I know that chances are it's going to be somebody's first indie wrestling show. And I can't tell you how many times I hear stuff like that at when I'm at the merch table at intermission, and people come up and wow, I've never been one of these before, but this is incredible, or that was amazing. And we'll definitely be back. And to me, that's why I got to work so hard, is because it's imagine if you'd gone to that show and the main event, was fucking awful and boring. We probably aren't having this conversation now, and
exactly.
Not that I have to I'm not going to take stupid risks. I think I'm a pretty smart wrestler in terms of, I don't do stupid deathmatch shit, and I don't get dropped on my head unnecessarily or anything like that. But it's I want to have a high quality product that will make someone want to come back and see more. So thank you for that tremendous compliment there. Anyway, back to OKX. It's wild to think how long ago it was at this point. We're coming up on I guess it'll be 5 years in May of that match. And that match was tremendously important to me from a confidence perspective, because I had spent the first 5 years of my wrestling career as a tag team performer with my best friend Graham.
Yep.
And in like 2017, in 2018, I had split off, amicably. There was just, kind of life situation stuff kind of necessitated it, but like we both kind of did our own thing. And,
Right.
17 and 18, I was getting myself into a lot better physical condition and finding myself, as a singles wrestler. But I'd never like been like a company's, world heavyweight champion or heavyweight champion, or even held a singles title at that point. I think the word was like getting around that, like, hey, Luke's turning himself into a pretty damn good wrestler, but no one had ever no one had ever said like, hey, we want to, build a show with you in the main event, or hey, we have this main event idea for you, or anything like that. So like when JD and Alex approached me with this OKX idea, and JD was the first one to pitch to me. I think we were in I can't remember. We were not in Tulsa, but somewhere in eastern Oklahoma for a WFC show. And they came to me before the show. JD came to me and was like, hey, we got this idea, and this is what we want to do for the main event, you versus John Cross. And John had been retired for 2 years at that point. And like kind of right away, I was like, oh, shit, just
big
just
deal.
Because like, yeah, I mean, it's, big deal in quotes, because, it's independent wrestling. But to me, it was like, okay,
it's a compliment.
Yeah, exactly. These guys have this grand idea, and they think that you're the guy who can help capitalize on it, and help,
right.
Make it the event that they see in their mind's eye,
Yeah.
And no one had really kind of put that faith in me before. So I felt a tremendous amount of pressure to not just have a good match, and like be in great, physical shape and, look like a main eventer and stuff. Because I was already in pretty damn good shape, going into, when they approached me. But like, I just remember thinking like, this show has to succeed. It has to sell out. It has to generate a lot of attention, a lot of buzz, and the match has to be great. Because if none of if I don't check all of those boxes, then I have failed as a main eventer. So in retrospect, probably too much pressure on myself, because like the draw was John. People were excited to see John come back, because John had the history as a main event guy in Northeast Oklahoma there, and had a lot of buzz just for his comeback. Like they probably could have stuck anybody in there with John, and it would have been exciting. But for me, it was very much about proving myself as like a main event caliber player. And ultimately, I think the show was an enormous success. The show was really long. The match was really long, but honestly, I can't think of anything that I would cut in the match. Truthfully, I think we delivered on the big fight feel that we were able to manufacture. And I think John probably talked about, some of the vignettes and storytelling things that we did, but like, ultimately, like we did a lot of cool vignettes and character stuff, to kind of build hype. And there was an amazing hype video that got made for it. But like, to me, it was a really simple sports-based story, and that it was, it's two fighters who are fighting to see who's the best at fighting, Everyone says you're the fucking best, but you know what? I'm really the best, but no one realizes it yet, and I'm going to beat you to fucking prove it and show people, And I remember, I think I'll tell a little story here, because like, Alex was hyping me up the whole time, like during the show and before the show. And like, I went earlier in the show, I'm kind of pacing, stretching, like just kind of getting in the zone. And Alex is just like, you feel good? And I'm like, yeah, I feel good. And he's like, you're the man. And I think I said something like, like we'll see when this is over. And then I got to the back, and everyone's dabbed me up, give me love or whatever, and I remember like Alex, we were talking a little bit, and then I remember saying something to like, okay, and yes, I am the fucking man, something like that. It makes me sound like a fucking egomaniac saying it now, but like in the context of the previous conversation, not so much. But like, yeah, man, that whole match and that story, to me, it was very. It was just kind of a personal, a personal challenge to prove that I could be a main event guy, that I could carry a big match on a big show, and people would care and invest in it. And I never fucking looked back, man. Like, I mean, like that. I think, the attention, like it helped, booking, because people started booking me in more main events and for singles titles and stuff. But it just like, as a performer, I could go into any show knowing like, dude, you wrestled for almost 45 minutes.
Yeah.
In a really intense,
it's a confidence builder.
Very demanding match. What can't you do?
Right.
And it was a great experience. Challenged me as a performer and as a person, and a great growth experience. So I feel like like a kind of a jerk, spend so much time talking about something that was almost 5 years ago, but it really was an important part of my development as a wrestler. And I think the guy that you see now that you became a fan of, like he kind of like he emerged from his cocoon in that OKX match, I feel like. Yeah.
Well, I mean, and now you're the Mid-States heavyweight champion. Again. You have come. I think actually, whenever I first met you, you were the Mid-States heavyweight champion. Or no, I'm sorry, it might have been WFC champion. It was one of the two.
Right. Yeah, because I defended the WFC heavyweight belt against Duke at that show that you saw.
Okay, yeah, that's what it was. And I mean, you've held titles all over the place. You've been doing all kinds of great stuff. And Mid-States, they are booming. I mean, I've been watching everything that they're doing. I think they just had a show in St. Joe, you have them in Springfield, you have them in Harrison, and they're just growing so much. It's amazing to see what they're doing over there.
Yeah, and Mid-States is always going to be special to me because I had my very first ever wrestling match for Mid-States in Harrison, Arkansas on June 4th, 2011. And like, the business they've been doing the last several years has been phenomenal. Springfield always sells out. The show we had up in St. Joe, my last show of 2023, standing room only, great crowd, a lot of like hometown support for some of the talent on the show, which is always great. It was electric in there.
Right.
And Harrison, home base, like they promote those fairgrounds, and the fairgrounds are always packed. And it's a credit to Jason, the promoter, Jason Jones. He truly is the hardest working man in professional wrestling, and him and his crew, they do such a great job promoting whatever town Mid-States is running in. It's a privilege to get to represent that company as their champion for the second time now.
I know Jason is probably, he was one of the hardest ones for me to schedule an interview with, I think, because he's just such a busy guy.
He's always hustling.
He is. He's always doing something. And I didn't know that he did like the slap fights and stuff like that as well until I had him on the show. But man, he really does. He's a part of he's got his hand in everything.
Oh yeah, if there's an opportunity, he'll explore it, certainly. But I can't speak to the slap fighting. Not my scene.
Yeah, it's I don't know how that is legal, I guess you could say, because all this stuff with concussions. Yeah, I mean that's a direct blow to the head. So
Hey, consenting adults, man.
Yeah.
I don't know what to tell you.
Yeah, I mean that's true. I mean they signed that line. They're in their own hands.
Well, I can't cast too many stones because
Yeah,
like letting someone like slam you into a pile of thumbtacks doesn't sound super smart either. So, but here we are.
Yeah, this is true. This is true.
Hey, listen!
My name is A Crown, and if you enjoy fan fiction, be sure to check out The Author's Crown. We have stories from all kinds of franchises like DC, Power Rangers, and Transformers. But wait, there's more! We also do original crossovers you didn't know you needed. Head on over to YouTube and search for The Author's Crown today.
There was another name that you brought up that I had on. It was right around, actually, it was a year ago today is when the episode dropped, and that's Alex Royal.
Oh, sweet.
Great guy. I met him through Tim, and Tim was like, you should get him on your podcast. And so I reached out to him, talked to him. Love his podcast. I would love for it to come back. I think he's told me that he's got plans for it to come back and everything, but he kind of has a similar format to what I do here. But yeah, I love watching what he does. I've had him on the show. I actually did a Christmas episode because I know how much he loves Christmas. And I actually had him tell a Christmas story on my show. So yeah, love Alex Royal.
Yeah, Alex is a good dude. We've really formed a nice friendship in the wake of OKX, getting to know him as part of that process. And he's always one of my favorite people to crash with on the road and just stay up and bullshit with. And yeah, I really like talking with him because he's very detail oriented.
Yes.
Like a lot of the little character moments in a match, he pays a lot of attention to those. And it's nice to, as I said, I'm an enthusiast and I like getting into things at the smallest, detail possible. And he's like that in a lot of respects when it comes to putting his matches together and stuff. So it's always fun to talk wrestling and life with him because he's a legitimately smart dude and good businessman and just good dude to shoot the shit with always.
Well, I know whenever I had him on, he even went into detail telling me about how he throws his punch in the ring, how his drawback is from one person and his delivery is from somebody completely different. So I definitely see what you're saying whenever you say that he takes the little things and, he goes with the details and he puts forth a great product.
Yep, no doubt.
I did want to ask about this. So when you were on his show, you talked about you worked at Dairy Queen and you were talking about, that was another thing. You guys actually went into detail about how to make that little curl on the top of the ice cream cone.
Yeah, I guess that kind of calls back. We were asking about my first truck, and that's what I spent all my Dairy Queen money on. It's like that's what you do. Like day one at Dairy Queen is you make the ice cream sandwiches. Because that'll let you practice the curl, and if you mess it up, it doesn't matter because you're just going to put the top cookie on,
Right.
But yeah, I mean, I could probably still do it. I think with with a non-Dairy Queen machine, like I used to like going to like Jason's Deli and stuff for like lunch because they had the free soft serve machine. You could help yourself there at the end, but I don't really make a habit of eating a lot of soft serve ice cream these days, which is hopefully evident. But
definitely,
I'd wager that I could probably still make the curl on muscle memory. Probably.
There you go. So, outside of music, do you have any hobbies?
I mean, I think I'm just kind of a normal dude in terms of I really like sports. So. I'm kind of sad to see football season kind of coming to an end. Excited for the playoffs, but my downtime when I'm not watching wrestling, these days it's usually watching football. I'm a big fan of a lot of football and basketball podcasts. Actually got a chance to catch a OKC Thunder game a couple weeks ago.
Cool.
I was down. I was down. I did extra work for AEW on their Dynamite there in Oklahoma City, and I stayed with my boy. I stayed with my boy Arthur, and the next day, and caught a Thunder game with him. So that was cool. But yeah, I'm a big sports fan. I like the competition aspect and the strategy aspect, and it's definitely one of those things that I have a lot of interest in. But man, like, I don't know, in terms of like hobbies and stuff, it's like, I've got my 9-to-5 job, and going to spend a couple hours in the gym every morning, and and then I got my social circle and girlfriend and stuff like that, and like there's plenty of Big Sky to watch. So I'm always finding new activities and like stuff like that to do with her or my other buddies. I might my one vice, I might have a cigar with the guys or something like that if I have a night off of wrestling or something like that. But yeah, man, I don't know. I feel like in civilian life I'm pretty boring, but I make up for it, with what I do on the weekends.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I've heard a lot of people say this, and you said you've listened to some of these episodes that I have on here, and your name actually comes up a lot when it comes to being people's favorite. If I don't know if you know that or not.
You've dropped me a couple of links when I've been mentioned, and I appreciate that, because I always love some of that sweet validation. But I take that as a tremendous compliment whenever another wrestler says that they enjoy working with me, or that they feel like I can help them deliver as good a performance as possible, because that's what it's about. It's
right.
It's about elevating each other and putting on the best show possible.
Yeah. What would you say is probably one of your what is your favorite feud that you've been in?
I guess it's hard to call it a feud because it really only culminated in one match.
Okay.
But the John Cross OKX build was really enjoyable for me.
Yeah.
I really liked what me and Sam Stackhouse just did recently at Mid-States Wrestling, where he ended my first reign as the champion under dubious circumstances with a low blow. And then we had a rematch that went to a double count out and a big pull apart brawl. And then we had a no holds barred match where I was able to win my title back. I thought that was a nice little arc, certainly. Me and it's more not really a feud, but more of kind of a standing rivalry. But me and Colton Theron Vaught have had a series of really good matches in Mid-States Wrestling, and it's much more of like a sports space. Like, these two are two of the best athletes, and they're about as evenly matched as two guys can get in the ring, and it's always fireworks. But the matches have all like built on themselves really well, playing off the old history and stuff. So I had I'll give you one like kind of retro answer here, and back tag team Luke Langley back in toward the end of 2015 into 2016, I believe. No, excuse me. I think end of 2014 into the beginning of 2015, me and Graham had a tag team feud in Lawton, Oklahoma, for a company called IZW. And we feuded with the tag team called the Old School Studs. Gary Toole, who's one of like the best like true vets in wrestling in terms of like actually providing like helpful guidance, and then Randy Price, who I am not sure if he is still active wrestling. He moved down to I think Corpus Christi, Texas, from Oklahoma, and I think he was a little active down there, but I've not seen him pop up super recently. But Randy Price was always a super underrated, really, really great wrestler in his own right. And we had a series of matches with those guys that I think hold up well even today, especially our Lawton street fight, where we started the pay-per-view and then brawled out of the arena, and then brawled back into the arena later to finish the match like an hour and a half later. So I think that's still on YouTube. If you want to search KC Wolves versus Old School Studs street fight, you could probably find it still.
Okay. I was just about to ask you, do you have that on your YouTube?
It's not on mine, but I'm pretty sure you can still find it.
I'll definitely have to look that one up. That sounds like that'd be a fun one to watch.
Yeah. If you've ever wanted to see me fight in a tattoo parlor and a Burger King, then it's the match for you. It's not even like in shape badass Luke like you see now, but it's still a good match. So don't hold that against me.
Definitely not. No, I did actually run across, maybe you posted it, but I saw some pictures of you like when you first started and everything. And I do have to say, you have put a lot of work into, keeping yourself in shape and everything compared to whenever you first started, man. You look awesome.
Thanks, man. I appreciate it.
So we're kind of coming up close to a close on here. I've just got a few more questions that I wanted to ask you and everything. Do you have any advice for somebody who's maybe just starting out?
Just starting out as a pro wrestler?
Yes.
So the last guy who asked me this got like a 25-minute answer. So let me try to edit myself slightly.
Yeah, you're good.
But yeah, I would say this. Get around as many good wrestlers as possible.
Yeah.
Because I know that what hindered my development was that like me and Graham didn't really have like any kind of established local scene here in Kansas City. There was like one company, Metro Pro Wrestling, and they stopped running regularly shortly after I started wrestling. So, they would come back later on, but like we didn't really have like any like good vets to rely on. So we pretty much just had to go out and get booked anywhere we could. And honestly, we just kind of sucked for a while. But we, you still got to get yourself reps. So
yeah,
if you can get around talented wrestlers, guys who you see them and their matches are always good, and you can pick their brain, or if you have if they're involved with the wrestling school, that you can work out with them regularly, where they'll, that's one of my favorite things about, where I'm at in wrestling now is that I'm part of the KC Pro Wrestling Academy up here in Kansas City, and I lead class there on Wednesday nights, and it's just a great thrill to me to be able to try to impart knowledge that I wish someone would have given me a lot earlier on, but I would say get around wrestlers who are actually talented, guys who look good. You can look at their matches and be like, man, that looks like something I could see on TV. Let me see what that guy's doing, Not that you have to take every piece of advice, because you got to find what works for you, but the more talented wrestlers you're around and the more you can get in the ring with them, the better it's going to make you. I will also say, just take any booking, obviously don't let someone exploit you,
right,
make you do dangerous stuff, or anything like that, but just, you need to get reps in front of a crowd as much as you can, just because you have to develop that confidence as a performer. You have to, you're always going to have a certain amount of butterflies, and to this day, I've been doing it for, it'll be 13 years this summer. And I still get a little nervous before my music hits, just because
yeah, definitely.
That's the thrill of it, but you've got to be able to just find yourself, try different shit in front of different crowds and see what works for them. That's why you see me in my matches, I hit a drop kick and yell, "I'm a big strong man," because I did it randomly, and the crowd always came up, and now it's just a thing, and they always react, and I get, but you got to just you wouldn't know if it works unless you are in front of a crowd every weekend trying something out, So get around good wrestlers, get as many reps as possible on any show, and then continue training, like continue to get in the ring and train regularly, even after you're working shows. Like our Wednesday night class, we have a lot of participation from guys who are already like active working for several years. But I know that for me, I didn't start getting good, or at least what I thought was good, or I didn't start really significantly improving. How about that? Until I had been wrestling for a couple years, but then I started getting in the ring with Mike Seidel and Trevor Murdoch when Murdoch had a school here in Kansas City for a summer. So that was back in 2016, and actually training in the ring with good, talented people 2 or 3 nights a week, even as a guy with, several hundred matches under his belt already, was really vital in developing me. So long answer to a short question, my specialty.
Good. I was waiting on 25 minutes here, but you was able to condense that down real good there. With everybody that you've been wrestling with and all the different places that you've been going, is there anybody that like you see that's somebody that we should be on the lookout for that's like up and coming?
Okay, cool. Let's see. I'll try to like pick some guys from like different areas, just so I'm not like playing favorites or anything like that necessarily.
Yeah.
We've got a really talented group of young guys here in Kansas City, and these guys are pretty well established at this point. So, but hopefully, I'm exposing them to new people if they haven't seen them or heard of them yet. But we have the Premier, Campbell Myers and SK Bishop. They're a really great young tag team here in Kansas City. They've been doing it a couple of years, and those guys are awesome. Really hardworking, good dudes. Kenny Alfonso has been doing it for several years, but one of the most naturally gifted pro wrestlers I've ever seen. I guess he's probably been doing it at least 5 years at this point, but I've got to see him from the ground floor on. He's wildly talented and a great dude. Some newer guys down in like Oklahoma, I think Cappuccino Jones, out of the Tulsa area. Like the dude just has it. Never had a singles match with him. I think we interacted in like a 4-way pretty briefly, but like in the last year especially, I've just seen his natural presence really develop in a way that I think is really special. And like some guys just are naturals at connecting with the crowd, and I think he's one of those guys, certainly.
Definitely.
Also, I want to give a shout out to Handsome Scott Hansen. But he's out of St. Joseph area in Missouri, but he's been becoming a regular down at Mid-States Wrestling. Really talented dude, just super gifted physically, and he was my last match of 2023. Actually, I did my first defense this time around of the Mid-States Heavyweight Championship, and just a world of potential, great attitude, quick learner, and someone that I think people should pay attention to.
Awesome. Do you have any goals for this next year? I mean, this is the first episode that I'm doing of this year. Not so much. I know people do the at the start of the year where they have they make a promise that they'll do something new and stuff. Do you have any goals set for you?
I in terms of like wrestling, I don't have the expectation that I'm going to make this my full-time career at this point, given my age and life circumstances. And I'm more than okay with that. My goal, I want to continue to develop myself physically, continue to be in excellent shape, continue to deliver TV quality matches wherever I'm at. I would like to become a main event player at Central States Wrestling, our local fed here in Kansas City. I've done a lot of good work there in the last year, and I think I'd like to prove that I can run at the top of the card there, but obviously not entirely up to me, but that's just kind of a personal goal.
Yeah.
I want to continue to grow our wrestling school here, help get more students, and develop the ones that we already have. I would say that's one of my primary goals, is to get our students, the wrestling regularly on shows during this year. The ones that are ready for it, the ones who've been in training for a bit. I'd like to get them actually booked in front of live crowds.
Yeah.
And continue to develop the teaching aspect there. And then let's see, I feel like there was one other thing that I wanted to bring up. But no, I mean, I guess it ties in with the wrestling school, but most of I think of a lot of what my place in wrestling should be and is, man, I'm being super articulate with this. I just want to be the wrestler that I would have wanted to meet when I was new, like whether it's having a match against me or training with me or asking me for advice, like if I'm on a show with you, like, and being able to give like real constructive feedback, like just being like the veteran wrestler that would have helped me out in 2012 or 2013, you know. I think that is honestly probably the role that would mean the most in the grand scheme of things. If I could, like, you know, have a bunch of, you know, wrestlers in, you know, 2 or 3 or 5 years saying like, man, working with Luke Langley really helped shape me and as a performer and made me a lot better. Like, that would be a great legacy.
Yeah, definitely. So do you have anything coming up that maybe you want to talk about?
Oh, sure. Let me get the old calendar out here. This coming Friday, I don't know when this will be released, but January 5th, I'll be in Sand Springs, Oklahoma for Core Pro Wrestling, their 3-year anniversary show. I will be taking on one Mr. Nasty, who you are pretty familiar with.
Yes.
January 13th, I'll be in Wichita for Heartland Championship Wrestling. Not sure what I'm doing yet there, but I'm sure it'll be awesome. That's always a great crowd. I'll be back at This Is Wrestling. I think they're in Claremore, January 27th. And if any wrestler is listening to this, I should be doing a seminar earlier in the day as well. So if you want to come work out with me, you know, that'll be available, and it'll be very reasonably priced, I promise.
Yeah.
And then the following day, January 28th, of course, we have Diamond State Wrestling, and I'll be running back a good match from last year with William Blackwell, so that should be a lot of fun.
Yes.
And then going into February, I'll be up in Iowa, I think Ames, Iowa, for The Hottest Topic. That should be a lot of fun. Friday show up there. And then I'll be at Mid-States Wrestling in some capacity in Harrison. I think they're running several shows that month, but and then I guess February 17th, I will be at Central States Wrestling for their 2024 first show here in Lenox, Kansas. So that's the immediate future for me. If you all want to check me out.
All right. And if people want to follow you online, how can they do that?
I'm just on Facebook as Luke Langley. Pokemon profile picture month is over, so it's just a picture of me again, so you can find me really easily. Follow me there, add me as a friend, whatever. That's where I'll publish all my musical opinions. So if that's important to you, that's where to find that. And then on I guess it's X now. I'm at Luke Langley MD, and on Instagram at Luke Langley MD as well.
All right, man. Are you a big Pokemon guy?
The first 2 generations. Okay. So Gen 1 and Gen 2 were like really seminal experiences for me as a kid, but I never had a Game Boy Advance, so I could never get to like Ruby Sapphire.
Okay.
But yeah, like, so that was like one of the things I did when COVID shut the world down in 2020 and I wasn't wrestling, like, because there were no shows for several months.
Yeah.
I went on eBay and I got like a used Pokemon Red cartridge because I had blue and yellow, but I got red so that I could finally complete the first 151 Pokedex.
There you go.
Now I have complete Pokedexes on blue and red.
Wow.
Unfortunately, my silver and crystal cartridges, like the internal battery that they use to keep track of time, those are long dead, so those games aren't usable for me anymore. But yeah, the first 2 gens, man, I was all about it.
I found a copy of Blue the other day at one of our local game stores. and I think they wanted like $60 for it or something like that. Which, I mean, I guess that's not bad, for a game. But
you go online, you can find it cheaper.
Oh, I'm sure. Well, I mean, they had the remakes there for like $20 as well.
Yeah.
I bought one of the remakes of Crystal, and it broke on me. Actually, like I was sitting there playing it, all of a sudden I heard a pop.
Oh God!
It fried, and I have no idea why. So, I kind of have been scared about buying some of those remakes anymore since then. But yeah, Blue, that was my jam, dude.
Hell yeah.
Man, I've had a great time talking to you tonight, and I can't wait to see you at Diamond State Wrestling and see you wrestle, and maybe get you back on here again in the future.
Yeah, I'd love to. Anytime, Jared.
All right, you have a good night.
All right, see ya.
Hey, listener. This is a not paid for product placement for the Zero to Hero podcast.
What do you
if
mean
you
not
definitely
paid?
like what you're listening to now, come on over to the Zero to Hero
keep my
podcast.
Lights on. Just
Anywhere you want to be able to find your podcast
the
at,
trash bills
like
due
Apple
next week.
Podcasts,
What
Spotify, Amazon Podcasts,
How the
and
hell
Google
am I gonna get
Podcasts,
my
which
God
still a little
boys in
weird.
for the next 2 weeks? All
Come
the
on over
pre-orders are
and
starting to
enjoy
fucking
yourself
drop.
and listen to Billy and myself bicker, argue, and, well,
Speaking of
fight
dog,
about a lot of
no
things,
goddamn
as
dog
we
food
are the
for
bulk
the
and
next
skull
2
of
weeks.
podcasting.
How the hell am I
Good
going
luck
to get
out there,
money
and
for
welcome back to the show.
Hi everyone, I'm Lisa.
And I'm Dawn.
And if you've ever watched a TV show and thought to yourself, oh my god, that season finale plot twist was absolutely bonkers.
Or seen a movie and thought, wow, I need to talk to somebody about this train wreck immediately.
Then we think you'll fit right in with our podcast, I Hate It, Let's Watch It. We watch TV shows like Riverdale and Emily in Paris.
And movies like Deep Water, Killer Sofa, Rubber, and Deadly Illusions. And we give them the total rinsing they deserve.
It's basically group therapy for movie masochists. So come check us out wherever you stream podcasts.
All right, everybody. I hope that you enjoyed that episode with Luke Langley. Man, it's really good to be back. I am very excited about the guests that I have coming up. I've got some really cool ones from all different walks of life. I've got people who have been in television and not just anime. I've got people who have been on major TV shows that are coming up on this next month that you're going to see. I've got all kinds of great guests. But thank you to Luke for being on the show again. Man, I really appreciate you coming back on here and talking with me. It was a lot of fun, and I can't wait to have you on again here in the future. So I want to say thank you to my podcast networks, the OIW Podcast Network, the Zero to Hero Podcast Network, and the Avenue Podcast Network. I hope you guys were able to find some really cool stuff on their platforms while I was away. They have amazing content, and you should really go out there and follow them and listen to the different shows that they have going on there. Some of them I have been a part of when it comes to Zero to Hero. Some of the guys who have created content on there, I've done some voiceover work for them. I've had them on the show. In fact, one of the people that I'm going to be recording with later in the month is the last of the 3 Ranger Bros studios, and that is Mark, the Red Cornish Ranger, and I'm excited to have him on later on this month. But I've got some really good ones coming up, and I think you guys are really going to enjoy it. But make sure you go out there, and when you're waiting for new episodes, go follow my podcast networks that I'm a part of so you can find some other really great content as well. Also want to say thank you to D-Cure for creating my ending theme song. You've heard me talk about him for a long time now. I've been using that theme song for about a year. And it was about this time last year whenever it dropped on my show, and I'm still very excited to have it on there. Also want to say thank you to Original Geek Comics. I'm going to be doing some cool stuff with them in the next month. I might be doing some live stuff with them in the next month. Just stay tuned, and you'll see some really cool stuff that's happening. I'll announce it more once it gets closer, but I'm really excited for 2024 and all the things that are going to happen. So as you know, I've been a part of the FeedSpot top dad podcasts to listen to. And I think I started out, it was like the top 60 list or something like that. And I started on that list at like number 30 or something. Then I moved up to like 24, and then I moved up to 22. Well, then I started moving back down the lists. And so I didn't check it for a while. Well, a month or so ago, I checked it, and I was at number 4 on that list. Well, then I checked it again about the day before Christmas, and now I'm sitting at number 2. There's only one other podcast out there that is ranked above me when it comes to FeedSpot, and it's talking about dad podcasts to listen to. I'm right there, and it wasn't just... It was because of you guys that I was able to move that high up on the list. And I just want to say thank you to everyone who listens to this show and supports this podcast. You guys have been awesome, and I really do appreciate you. So if you guys want to follow me online, where you can see all the different announcements that I will be having coming up, follow me on Facebook or Instagram or Twitter, or I guess we call it X now, or Threads. Or I even have Snapchat that kind of gives announcements out and stuff too. Follow me on any of those. You can find me. Just look up If You Give a Dad a Podcast in the search bar, and you can find me there. You can also Google me, and should be the most of the first 10 to 15 results that you find should be me on there. So go follow me on all of that. That way you can stay up to date with everything that's going on with the show. You can also send me an email at giveadadapodcast@gmail.com. I love talking to you guys. I love interacting with you. Whenever people comment on my stuff, I try to comment back and interact with you. If you have somebody you would like me to bring on the show, hit me up. Let me see if I can get the person on there. I will see what I can do. I've been pretty lucky in the past ones that have been requested to be able to get them on the show. My last guest of the year was Travis Trueborn, and he was a requested guest for the show. So if you guys have somebody you want me to bring on, let me know, and I will try my best to get them on the show. Also, if you really like this, go out there and rate and review the show. That way people will know about it. The more people that actually give me a rating or a review, the more likely I am to be recommended to somebody new. And the more people that listen to the show, the better. I love making this show, and I love to see what you guys think about the show that I'm making. Make sure that you like, share, and subscribe. Hit that notification bell wherever it is you're listening. That way you are notified when a new episode of iGetApp is dropped. And as I've done before, I'm going to continue this because I love this little segment that I've come up with, and it is Billy's favorite part of the episode. You hear me say that. And it's because the reason why I say this is because every time I make this, when it gets to this point of the show, I get a message from Billy. From Zio to Hero, the podcast, every time saying, Jared, I'm going to have to punch you in the face, or he's just like, God, Jared, why do you make those dad jokes? It's killing me. So that's the reason why, if you hear me say Billy's favorite part of the episode, that's what I'm talking about. And, well, it is time for the first one of the year. It's time for Dad Joke of the Week. Where can you take someone who was injured in a peekaboo accident? The ICU.
My name is Jim. I'm here to translate for Billy. His anger has overwhelmed him, and today you're going to find out what for.
Sometimes I have a stroke when I get too angry.
Did you hear a dad joke?
Yes.
You have to blink if it was that bad.
It's...
He blinked a lot, everyone. He blinked a lot. It was bad. It was bad. I am so sorry. We should not be here. We need to leave. Sir, I'm calling the cops. You endangered this man's life multiple times. I'm calling the cops.
Bye. See you later, Jared. See you next week.
All right, you guys. I love you. I hope that you have a wonderful week, and I will see you next time. Bye.
Room grounded, but I got a podcast on. He calls us beautiful people, then tells us who we have on. The best part of my day, though we're blocked out in my pods. Tell my friends all about it so that they follow along. And the host is kinda nerdy, but guess what I am as well. I don't feel so alone, and I began walking out of my shell. Heard a story, I need a connection I haven't felt. I'll be looking for the next one, till then farewell. It's the podcast for me. Have it on, better go see. Listen closely, download and tune in remotely. It's the podcast for me. Have it on, better go see. And listen closely, download and tune in remotely.
This podcast is part of the OIW Podcasting Network.
Do
Wait.
Can you put a timer up here?